What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today on the Hilux rebuild, we got to figure out front brakes. So the front brakes on these from factory, they are disc, but the calipers, it's a very small caliper. There's only two little pistons in it, and they're just really small. The rotors is a solid rotor. The solid rotors just kind of have a tendency to warp a little easier. So we got a new set of calipers and a new set of rotors we got to hopefully make work on this truck. So flip the camera around and show you what we got. So this is everything we are working with today. This is a stock caliper. You see there's just a 2-piston caliper there. These are a caliper off of a V6 IFS truck, so I think 88 to 95. I'll use this caliper if it's a V6. I think the 4 cylinders are pretty close, but they're a little bit smaller. These actually bolt right up. They have the same bolt pattern. You can see they're already test fit one of them on the spindle, and it bolts up nice and easy. So you just got to trim the backing plate. These rotors these are actually off of Acura Integra. I think 94 to 01, I believe that's the right year. These are a vented rotor, and I got the slotted and drilled ones. These do need a little bit of work. You can see the center hole. This is a stock one. You can see the center hole on the new one is smaller. Obviously the bolt pattern is different. So I'm gonna go bring this to town, find a machine shop to machine this out. And then it kind of sucks because the holes overlap no matter where you're at on turning this. There's always a hole that's overlapped. So what I may have to do is on the holes that overlap, weld those up and then re-drill them just so I have a nice solid hole. So either way, first things first, before we drill any holes in it, I want to bring this thing into town and, like I said, find a machine shop to machine that center bore out. As far as these calipers go, I got rebuild kits for them. We're going to tear these things apart, powder coat them, rebuild them, all new seals and everything. Hopefully these are used, so hopefully the pistons aren't in that bad a shape and they're not all rusted and seized in there. But either way, what we're going to get started with right now is calipers. So I'll show you guys. Let's take one and throw it on the frame. I'll show you how they fit, and then we're going to tear them apart, sandblast, clean them up, sandblast them, powder coat them, make them look brand new again. So you guys can see just a little bit of trimming on the top and little on the bottom. Caliper is bolted on, so it is a bolt on 100%. So we're good to go. Let's tear these things apart and get these things powder coated. Well guys, I got one piston out. All the other ones are completely freaking rusted and seized together. So I gotta find another set of calipers. I really don't like going aftermarket. I want a set of OEM calipers that I can rebuild, but I gotta find some. So I guess we'll get back on this video when I find some good calipers. All right guys, I said screw it. I went to Napa and just bought a new set of calipers. So we are good to go. These shouldn't have any issues, and we don't even need to replace the seals because they are all brand new. So let's strip these down, and hopefully this coating isn't too tough. We can sandblast it off real quick and get some powder on these. All right, guys, I got the calipers back together, so I'm going to throw these pads on. One thing we do have to do with this brake swap is a little squeak, the little wear bar right here on the bottom. We got to cut that off because it interferes with the new rotors. So I'm going to cut those off and then we can get the pads on. I did drop the rotors off. I'm still waiting for those. So we'll be done with the calipers. Once we get the rotors in, we can throw this whole system on. Now I know you guys are thinking probably the same thing as me. You should have done those the same color as the springs in that red. And honestly, originally I was going to do that same color, but I changed my mind with the wheel setup a little bit as far as colors go, and they just would not go good with a red caliper behind it. So I decided to go with the white. This is actually called the Polar White. Once again, from Prismatic Powders. Go check Prismatic Powders out. If you need any powder coating stuff, this, like I said, Polar White, it's a really bright white. It actually looks really good, and I think it's really gonna look good behind what I plan on for wheels. I haven't actually picked out a set of wheels. I just kind of picked out colors, but I really think the white is gonna pop behind what I have planned. So that's kind of the reason I went with white. Check it out, we got our rotors back, and well, we got a slight problem. This one is perfect, and yes, these are hub centric, so I told him to make it absolutely perfect. You can see fits on there, no slop at all. That one is good to go. I'm gonna need two hands to get it off. Hold on. All right, she's off. Now this one, you can see, it's too small. The guy machined it like 2 mil smaller than what it should be. So I'm not sure what's going on there. We're gonna have to bring that one back, have him open that up. At least he didn't go too big, so we can still bring it back, have him fix it. But what we gotta do is, let's see, we gotta get this rotor on. And this is how I'm gonna kind of transfer the holes over to drill. So we'll get that all the way down like that, and then get the old rotor on top of it, and you can see they're both centered on that hub, so we can get in here and mark our holes for drilling. Now we got a slight problem because one hole lines up. Yeah, the holes are just a touch bigger, but that doesn't matter because this, like I said, this is a hub centric rotor, so that means it centers off the hub. The bolts are only to hold it on, so that one's gonna work fine. The only other issue is we have a kind of halfway overlapped hole here. So I'm hoping, the only, what sucks about it is it's the tapered hole, and no matter how you orient this, you're on a tapered hole. So I can line that one up there, and you can see that one is on that tapered hole. So it kind of sucks that way. What I'm hoping I can do is drill in a pilot hole through, and then I can flip the rotor over through the back side like this where there's no taper, and then drill into it. If worst comes to worst, the guy said I could bring it back to him and he could just drill that one hole. All the other holes are going to be no problem, so we should be able to drill those out fine. Let's get this one rotor drilled, make sure we can get these holes drilled, and then we got to bring this one back and have him fix that, and then we can drill out this one. There we go, we got those holes drilled. That actually went a lot easier than I thought it would. So let's get that rotor, make sure it bolts onto the hub, and then let's actually throw the hub on with the caliper and make sure everything is good to go. And then we just gotta drive back into town, drop this thing back off, and have them fix that inner bore. check it out, guys. We got brakes on. So a couple little adjustments we need to make. You can hear that the rotor, for some reason, is hitting on the backing plate right where this bump out is right here. I'll show you guys when we get that off. And then one other little issue is you can see right here, the caliper is touching the rotor. So you can see there's a little bit of gap on this side. We need to space this caliper back just a little bit. So I actually just went and got a few washers, and we're just gonna space it between the mounting point right here and the actual spindle. That'll bring that caliper right away from the rotor, and I think we'll be just fine right there. Just a little thin, just the thinnest washer you can find, probably like 2 millimeters thick. It's not gonna hurt anything having a washer in there. Yeah, if you had like, you know, a 1/2 inch spacer, I could see issue, but a little washer like that, we're gonna be just fine. So let's rip this apart, fix this, see what we gotta do to this backing plate to get that fixed, and then when we throw it together, we'll just have to use these washers. All right, you guys can see it on this little bump out right there. There's a rub mark, and then there's a bump along the bottom here, and you can see that rub mark right there. So nothing a little bit of a hammer job won't fix. I'm gonna beat that in right here and along the bottom. It doesn't have to move much, so a little bit of hammer here and there, and we should be good to go. All right, we got this thing beat in there, and you can see it's still barely rubbing on the bottom. So right along there, it's actually pushed up against the spindle already. So I think I'm just gonna pull this backing plate off and cut this one section out. It's barely touching, but I just wanna make sure there's no interference and no clearance issues there. So I'm just gonna cut that one section out, and we should be good to go on this backing plate. I got just a little cut in the backing plate. We are good to go, no more interference. So this side is good to go. I'm actually gonna take that backing plate off, take a little Q-tip, dab some paint around there so it doesn't rust. But we got our rotor back too. I went back to town, dropped this thing back off, he opened it back up. So we are good to go on this one. Let's drill this one out and then do all of our mods to this side. And the brake should be done, other than brake lines we still need to figure out. Don't you guys love when a plan comes together and works absolutely perfectly? Got all the brakes on, and you can see back here I got just that one little washer, that little fender. That's actually a 7/16 washer, and it was the thinnest one I could find, but my gaps on either side of the rotor here are about perfect. So we are not touching anything, we are spinning free. That's just the pads hitting the rotor here, but we are good to go with that. So I'm going to give credit where credit is due. This isn't my idea as far as these rotors and calipers go. Some dude on Facebook, I had a post on Facebook, some guy commented on here. I'm actually going to drop a picture of his truck right here. He's got a sweet first gen Hilux, but he actually found out these calipers and rotors work on the system. So huge shout out to you. So last thing we got to do is brake lines. So I actually ordered up a set of brake lines off of AE86 Corolla. That's another thing this guy used on his system. So should just come right up to here, no problem. I actually took the brackets off the back, and they're going to go straight from the caliper right up to the frame here, and it's just a steel braided line. So that should work pretty good once we get those in. I'll show you guys that and see if those work. All right guys, we got our brake lines in finally. So I actually bought a set of front and rear. This is, I believe these shorter ones are the fronts, and then you can see right here the longer ones. I believe those are for the rear for the Corolla, but either way, they're a cool color. They almost match my spring, so that's pretty cool. What I ended up doing is I just took the bracket. So this bracket is off of that side. I swapped them because it fits way better over here. You can see I'm using the longer one. I probably won't use that. If anything, I was thinking about mounting it up to one of the steering box bolts there, but either way, we got plenty of clearance, plenty of space here. You can see I turn it all the way out. That's at full lock. We got plenty of room, and then when we go in, there's plenty of room too. That's full lock there, so we are good to go. I think I like that. I'm going to get this clipped in there, secured, and we should be good to go with brake lines. I'm going to get that side mounted up. I got the bracket right here. Like I said, these I just swapped from side to side, so opposite sides. They work way better for these. Also, if you guys want to check out these brake lines, if you're looking for something like this, I'll drop these. I bought these on eBay. They were like 30 or 40 bucks for the whole set. I just wanted to buy the front and rear because they were different lengths. I wasn't sure what I was going to need, so go check them out. I'll drop a link down in the description. Well guys, that is a wrap. Brakes are done for the front. Turned out really good. I just love when a plan comes together. The calipers, the rotors, even these brake lines, everything works out so good together. So I am very stoked about that. Now with having the front brakes, it almost makes me want to swap the rear drums out for a set of disc brakes. I don't know. I'm kind of kicking myself for not doing that in the first place. So maybe someday, I'm not going to do it now, but maybe someday I may just rip this rear end apart and convert it to disc brakes. But for now, front brakes are done and should work way better than the stock ones. And honestly, they look 1,000 times better. Well, I'm going to wrap this one up here, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Go smash that thumbs up button, comment, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.